There are places on this earth that seem untouched by the ticking hands of time. Places where the air moves more slowly, where silence feels sacred, and where the land itself tells stories older than language. Angola is one of those places. It lies on the western edge of Africa, a vast stretch of earth where deserts meet the sea and mountains rise from forests older than history. It is a land both wounded and wild, forgotten by the world for decades, yet carrying a spirit that refuses to fade. Here, time doesn't move in straight lines. It circles, it lingers, it folds upon itself like the mist that clings to the highlands at dawn. Angola's story begins long before borders and wars, long before colonizers carved lines across its soil. This land has always been a crossroads, where ancient tribes journeyed with the rains, where rivers carried stories to the ocean, and where the red earth held secrets of kingdoms that rose and vanished without leaving a sound. The soil here remembers everything: the footsteps of hunters, the drums of ceremonies, the smoke of battles, the laughter of markets. It remembers the years when empires came and went, when cities fell and forests returned, when silence became the language of survival. To stand on Angolan soil is to stand on layers of memory, each one older and deeper than the last. At sunrise, the country awakens in slow motion. The Atlantic glows like molten gold, waves crashing against cliffs that have seen centuries pass. Inland, the light slides across grasslands where herds once roamed freely, where elephants followed forgotten trails and lions ruled the silence. Farther still, mist curls around the mountains, wrapping villages in silver. The scent of wood smoke drifts through valleys, mingling with the cries of birds that have no names outside this land. It feels like the world before noise, before rush, before everything becomes temporary. In Angola, the land doesn't just exist. It breathes, it remembers, it endures. For years, Angola was hidden behind headlines and hardship. The world looked away, and the country became a rumor, a name whispered in reports but rarely seen in truth. Yet behind that veil of silence, nature never stopped working. The forests healed, rivers cut new paths through rock, the desert stretched a little farther, and the sea kept whispering against the shore. When peace finally came, Angola emerged not as a land broken, but as one reborn, a place where life had continued quietly, waiting for the world to notice again. What makes Angola so hauntingly beautiful is not just its scenery, but its sense of duality. It is both ancient and awakening, scarred and healing, forgotten and unforgettable. Its landscapes tell of extremes: lush rainforests that drip with life, deserts that shimmer with mirage, highlands that break through clouds like the spines of sleeping gods. Each corner of this country feels like another world. In the north, the jungles hum with unseen life, thick and mysterious, pulsing with the rhythm of rain. In the south, the desert breathes in silence, endless and blinding, stretching to the ocean where dunes collapse into waves. Between them lies everything: rivers, waterfalls, savannas, and towns that rise from the dust like memories made solid. The people who call this land home carry its same quiet strength. They are the descendants of kingdoms that once traded ivory and salt across continents, of warriors who stood against empires, of families who rebuilt their homes again and again. Their culture is a living archive, woven into music, language, and dance. Every song is a story, every rhythm a reminder that Angola's heart still beats in perfect time with the earth beneath it. From the slow, mournful tones of semba to the electric energy of kuduro, Angolan music is not just sound, it's survival turned into celebration. Traveling across Angola feels like tracing the history of the planet itself. You move from ocean to desert, from jungle to plateau, watching the world change with every mile. The road carves through mountains where clouds hang so low they brush against your face, then drops into valleys where rivers flash like silver veins. You pass villages where red clay walls glow in the sun and women balance baskets on their heads with impossible grace. Children run barefoot through the dust, laughing with the kind of joy that makes you forget the past for a moment. It's not poverty you see, it's persistence, a quiet defiance against everything that tried to erase them. Every horizon here carries a sense of wonder. The sunsets burn with impossible colors: orange, violet, deep crimson, fading into the night. The stars come alive with a clarity that city skies have long forgotten. The Milky Way stretches from one end of the land to the other, as if the universe itself bends closer to see this place still standing. Angola doesn't try to impress. It simply is. Its beauty doesn't shout. It hums softly beneath the surface, waiting for those who take the time to listen. The first impression of Angola is awe, but the lasting one is humility. You realize how young the modern world truly is when standing in a land that has seen civilizations rise and crumble without ever losing itself. Here, everything feels older than human memory and yet more alive than anywhere else. The rocks, the rivers, the wind, they all seem to carry voices, whispering stories too ancient for language. It's not a place that tries to entertain you. It's a place that asks you to feel, to slow down, to remember that before cities and machines, there was earth, and it was enough. In Angola, time doesn't move forward. It expands. It holds everything at once: pain and rebirth, loss and abundance, silence and song. It is a reminder that beauty often survives in the shadows, that even after centuries of darkness, light finds a way through. Angola isn't a destination, it's an awakening, a place that teaches you that nature's greatest masterpiece isn't untouched wilderness or perfect order. It's survival itself. And in every breath of wind, in every shift of sand, in every sunrise over its restless horizon, Angola keeps proving that the land time forgot is still very much alive. Luanda, the pulse of a reborn nation. Luanda doesn't wake up quietly. It hums, it vibrates, it moves with the rhythm of a heartbeat that's been waiting too long to be heard. The capital of Angola isn't just a city, it's a pulse. A living contradiction is built between the memory of struggle and the promise of rebirth. You can feel its energy before you even see it, an invisible electricity in the air, a mix of ocean salt, engine smoke, and music spilling from every open door. This city was once a colony, then a battlefield, then a survivor. Today, it's something else entirely. Alive, restless, determined to catch up with the world that once moved past it. Skyscrapers rise beside crumbling Portuguese facades, glass reflecting the ruins of the empire. On the streets, vendors weave through traffic with baskets of mangoes and cassava bread. Kids laugh as they chase footballs through narrow alleys. Fishermen unload their morning catch by hand, while businessmen rush toward mirrored towers. It's chaos and beauty intertwined, a song that doesn't care about rhythm, but still finds its melody. From the waterfront, you can watch the city breathe. The marginal promenade curves around the bay like a silver ribbon. The Atlantic stretches endlessly on one side, while Luanda's skyline burns gold under the evening sun on the other. It's a strange view, modern and ancient at once. Cargo ships drift in slow motion beyond the harbor, reminders that this coast has always been a meeting place of worlds. For centuries, it was the gateway between Africa and the Atlantic. Traders came and went, empires rose and fell. But Luanda remained, a witness carved into the edge of the continent. Quick one for you, if you had a day in Luanda, would you spend it chasing the city's music through its markets or watching the sunset from the marginal promenade? Walk deeper into the city, and you hear the stories in its sounds. The rhythm of semba drums spilling from courtyards, the laughter of women bargaining in markets, the hum of motorcycles slicing through traffic. Music is the city's second language, and it never stops speaking. Every beat tells a story of love, loss, exile, return. Every song carries the weight of both memory and hope. The old rhythms are still there, but now they mix with electric guitars and digital beats, creating something entirely new, something that feels like rebirth. But Luanda's beauty isn't polished, it's raw. You see wealth and want within the same frame. Luxury towers overlooking tin-roofed neighborhoods. Young artists are painting murals on crumbling walls. Street dancers performing for coins beside government buildings. It's a city of contrasts, but that's what gives it life. The tension between past and present, between survival and celebration, is what keeps it beating. The people here don't forget where they came from. Their resilience runs deep, forged through centuries of resistance. From colonial rule to civil war to the quiet struggle of rebuilding. Yet, you rarely see bitterness. What you see instead is motion, constant, determined motion. Markets are expanding, art is thriving, and schools are filling with children who believe the future belongs to them. At night, the city glows like a promise. The sea reflects the lights of bars and cafes, and music travels with the wind. Couples dance on rooftops. Friends gather around grilled fish and laughter. The same waves that once carried sorrow now carry sound. Luanda doesn't hide from its past. It dances with it. And somehow, in that dance, it becomes free. This is Angola's new heartbeat. A place where memory meets movement, where history isn't erased but rewritten in color and rhythm. Luanda proves that even cities built on pain can learn to sing again. Kisama National Park, life after silence. There's a moment just after dawn when the park feels suspended between dream and waking. Mist rises off the Kwanza River, soft and silver, and the land seems to breathe. This is Kisama, once a battlefield, now a sanctuary. A place that teaches you how silence can heal. Not long ago, this land was empty. Decades of war had stripped it bare. Elephants vanished, birds fell silent, and the savannah forgot its own heartbeat. But nature, stubborn as ever, waited. When peace finally came, the first sound wasn't human. It was the distant call of a fish eagle, echoing through the valley. Then came footsteps, hooves, wings, life returning in waves. Kisama was alive again. It's one of Africa's greatest quiet miracles, the rebirth of a lost wilderness. Through an ambitious effort called Operation Noah's Ark, animals were flown in from Botswana and South Africa to repopulate the park. It was a resurrection in motion. Giraffes stretching their necks toward trees that hadn't known shade in decades. Zebras galloping through grass that had grown undisturbed. Families of elephants walk the riverbanks, cautious but free. Each step rewrote a piece of history. Standing in Kisama now, it's hard to believe this was once a war zone. The scars are still there. Rusted shells buried beneath the soil. Broken watchtowers crumbling in the bush. But life has painted over them in green and gold. The land doesn't forget, but it forgives. The grass grows over the ruins, the rivers sing again, and the animals return as if guided by memory older than loss. The park itself stretches endlessly, more than 9,000 square kilometers of wilderness. Acacia trees scatter across plains like ancient guardians. The air smells of earth and sunlight. From the cliffs overlooking the Kwanza, the view stretches forever. Rolling hills, winding rivers, herds, moving like whispers through tall grass. It's the kind of landscape that humbles you, that reminds you how small and temporary human struggles really are. In the quiet hours, you notice the details, the way dust dances in light, the flicker of wings above water, the rhythm of hooves echoing against rock. The silence isn't emptiness, it's fullness. Every sound carries meaning. Every pause feels sacred. Kisama teaches that recovery isn't about speed, it's about patience. The land healed because it was allowed to breathe again. Two truths and a lie. Elephants were flown in from Botswana. Giraffes were brought from Kenya. Zebras came from South Africa. Which one's the lie, and what should I prove next? And behind this rebirth are people. Rangers who patrol with pride, scientists who track the herds, villagers who protect instead of hunt. They've seen what destruction looks like, and they've chosen a different story this time. The bond between human and wild is delicate but strong. Here, coexistence isn't a slogan, it's survival. As the sun sets, the park glows with orange light. Elephants cross the horizon like shadows made of memory. The river glitters like molten glass. The day ends as it began, with quiet, with grace, with the feeling that something sacred is unfolding. Kisama isn't just a park. It's proof that even after silence, life remembers how to sing. Benguela and Lobito, echoes of the sea. There's a rhythm that lives along Angola's coast, carried by the waves and whispered through the wind. It's older than language and stronger than time. It's the song of Benguela and Lobito, two coastal cities bound by the same ocean, both born from tides that have seen everything. Here, the Atlantic doesn't just meet the land, it tells its story. Every ripple, every crash of surf carries a memory of trade, of travel, of longing. Benguela sits quiet and graceful, a city that wears its history like sunlight, bright but with shadows beneath. Once, it was a port of sorrow. Ships came here to take lives across the ocean, carrying the cries of a people torn from home. The water remembers. You can feel it when you stand by the shore, the weight of centuries pressing softly against your heart. Yet the same sea that once carried pain now carries possibility. Fishermen cast their nets where slave ships once anchored. Children play where chains once clinked. Time didn't erase the past. It reshaped it, softened it, and turned it into resilience. Walk through Benguela's old streets, and the air feels different. Pastel-colored buildings lean into each other, their walls faded by salt and sun. Balconies curl with ironwork that remembers colonial hands, but beneath that, life hums with something purely Angolan. Women sell grilled fish and papaya at roadside stalls. Men sit outside cafes playing checkers, their laughter rising above the waves. Every detail feels layered. Every scent, every sound, like the city itself, is a tapestry woven from both beauty and grief. Further up the coast, Lobito shines brighter, a port city reborn from salt and steel. Its bay curves gently, protected by a long peninsula that keeps the waves calm and the waters blue. From above, the view feels unreal, a ribbon of land holding the sea in a perfect embrace. Ships glide through the harbor, cranes move with mechanical grace, and the air hums with trade and renewal. It's here that Angola's heartbeat meets the ocean's rhythm, a meeting of movement and memory. But step away from the port, and Lobito slows down. The streets near the old town still echo with the past. Churches with peeling white walls, colonial mansions turned to family homes, palm trees bending toward the light. Life unfolds at its own pace. Children kicking footballs in the dust, old men repairing nets, women singing softly as they hang clothes to dry. Everything here feels honest, grounded, and unpretentious. The sea shapes everything. It gives and it takes. The fishermen rise before dawn, their wooden boats cutting into waves painted gold by first light. Their songs drift across the water, half prayer, half rhythm. These men know the ocean's moods better than any clock. They can read storms in the sky, smell rain before it falls, and feel when the currents shift. Their knowledge isn't written, it's inherited, passed down through generations who learned by watching, listening, remembering. Answer to the earlier game. The giraffes weren't from Kenya. They came from South Africa too. By afternoon, the beach fills with life. Children dive into the surf. Teenagers chase the tide. Lovers walk barefoot along the sand. The Atlantic glitters, stretching endlessly, its color shifting from turquoise to deep indigo as the sun sinks low. There's peace here, not the silence of emptiness, but the calm that comes after endurance. And yet, the ocean always reminds you of its dual nature, beautiful but merciless, life-giving but unforgiving. It carried traders and conquerors, refugees and explorers. It brought cultures together and tore families apart. The people of Benguela and Lobito know this. They respect the sea the way one respects a god, with awe, gratitude, and a touch of fear. As the day fades, the coastline glows under a soft orange haze. Lanterns flicker in doorways. Waves whisper against the shore. Somewhere, music plays. A guitar, a drumbeat, a voice that rises and falls like the tide. The sound blends with the ocean until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Benguela and Lobito are more than cities. They're living memories of the sea, its joy, its pain, its endless rhythm. They remind you that water holds everything we try to forget, and yet, somehow, still forgives. Here, life doesn't run from history. It floats on top of it, steady and sure, like a boat returning home after a long voyage. Serra da Leiba, the road to the clouds. There's a place in southern Angola where the earth seems to fold in on itself, twisting and turning as if sculpted by wind and time. It's called Serra da Leiba, a mountain road that climbs into the sky in a series of impossible curves, each one a whisper of human defiance against gravity. From a distance, it looks like a ribbon of silver threading through the mountains, vanishing into clouds. Up close, it feels alive, breathing, coiling, daring you to follow its path. The journey begins near the coastal town of Namibe, where the desert meets the first green ridges of the highlands. The air grows cooler with every turn, the sea fading behind you until it becomes a faint shimmer on the horizon. Then the climb begins. One curve, then another, and another. 14 tight bends carved into the face of the mountain, rising more than 1,000 meters in a stretch so steep it feels like you're driving into the heavens. The view changes with every twist. Rocky cliffs, sudden valleys, threads of mist weaving through the air. This isn't just a road, it's a masterpiece. Built in the 1970s, at a time when Angola was still under Portuguese rule, Serra da Leiba was an engineering dream, turned real through stubbornness and vision. Every curve was blasted, chiseled and shaped by hand. Every wall and guardrail is placed with care. The mountain didn't yield easily, it had to be persuaded. And when it finally did, it revealed one of the most dramatic roads on the African continent. Standing at the top, you understand why travelers speak of it in reverent tones. The world spreads out beneath you in layers of green and red, mist rising like breath from the valley floor. The air smells of pine and stone dust, cool and sharp. Hawks ride the wind, circling the cliffs with effortless grace. When clouds roll in, the road disappears entirely, swallowed by white. It's as if the mountain wants to remind you who's in charge. For locals, the road is more than a scenic marvel. It's a lifeline. It connects the coastal plains to the fertile highlands, carrying trade, travelers, and stories between two worlds. Trucks climb slowly, engines straining, carrying goods from Namibe to Lubango. Families make the trip with patience and pride, knowing they're tracing a route carved by determination. It's dangerous, yes. Sharp drops, sudden fog, unpredictable weather, but also deeply symbolic. Serra da Leiba is proof that beauty and peril often share the same road. The mountains here have their own kind of silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but of magnitude, the hush that comes from being in the presence of something vast and ancient. Rocks shimmer under sunlight like bronze. The vegetation clings to steep slopes, defying the thin soil. Small villages nestle in valleys below, smoke rising from clay huts in gentle spirals. It's a landscape that feels both eternal and fragile, balanced between wind and gravity. At dusk, the light softens to gold. The last rays slide across the curves of the road, and the mountain seems to glow from within. Travelers pull over at the famous viewpoint, a stone terrace that hangs over the valley, and just stand there, quiet, staring. There's no need for words. You can hear the wind, the distant rush of a waterfall, the faint hum of a truck far below. The world feels suspended, caught between earth and sky. Serra da Leba isn't just a road you travel. It's a road that changes you. It teaches humility, patience, awe. It reminds you that progress isn't always about speed, that sometimes the longest route leads to the highest view. And when you finally descend toward Lubango, leaving the clouds behind, you carry something invisible with you, a sense that for a moment you stood on the edge of the world and saw how beautiful persistence can be. Lubango and Christ the King, faith above the fog. High in Angola's southern highlands, surrounded by valleys that seem to roll forever, stands a city caught between earth and heaven. Lubango, a place where mist drifts through the streets at dawn and mountains rise like guardians around its edges. It feels peaceful here, as if the world slows down to breathe. But above all, watching over the city from a rocky hilltop, stands a figure carved from stone. Cristo Rey, the Christ the King statue. Arms open, gaze steady, it overlooks Lubango like a silent blessing in white. From a distance, the statue seems almost unreal. It emerges from the fog like something divine, its face glowing softly in the morning light. Built in the 1950s by Portuguese settlers, it was inspired by the Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro. But here in Lubango, it carries a different meaning. It doesn't look down on luxury or crowds. It watches over farmers, traders, students, and dreamers. Ordinary people living extraordinary lives in a city that has rebuilt itself from the ashes of history. The road to Cristo Rey winds through eucalyptus trees and sharp bends that reveal breathtaking views. As you climb, the air thins, carrying the scent of rain-soaked earth and pine. The city spreads below, red roofs, green valleys, the silver line of a river threading through. It's the kind of view that makes you stop mid-step just to take it in. Up here, you see everything, the past, the present, and the quiet determination that defines Angola's heart. Lubango is a city shaped by contrasts. Its colonial architecture still stands beside modern glass buildings, its wide avenues echoing with both old songs and new ambitions. Once a Portuguese settlement, it carries the marks of European design, arched doorways, tiled courtyards, and pastel facades. But beneath that, the African soul beats strong. The markets are alive with color and rhythm, the scent of roasted corn and grilled fish filling the air. Vendors call out in Portuguese and Umbundu, mixing languages like melodies in a single song. Every face you pass tells a story of endurance, of faith, of beginnings after endings. The people of Lubango live with quiet pride. They've known hardship, yet they carry joy like a torch that never goes out. In the afternoons, families gather in small cafes, sipping strong coffee as music drifts from open windows. Children play football in open lots, their laughter echoing off the hills. Life here feels slower, gentler, and deeply human. There's time to notice the details, to watch the fog lift, to hear church bells ring through the valley, to feel gratitude simply for being alive. I'm curious, when rebuilding a place with such deep scars, what feels more respectful to you, preserving every reminder of the past or reshaping it into something entirely new? And always, above it all, Cristo Rey watches. During sunset, the statue turns golden, its shadow stretching across the city like an embrace. Locals climb the hill at dusk to sit beneath it, couples holding hands, elders praying softly, teenagers taking photos against the sky. But even for those who come without words or beliefs, the place feels sacred. Not because of religion, but because of what it represents: endurance, forgiveness, renewal. From this height, you can see the layers of Angola's soul. The scars of conflict are hidden beneath new roads, the strength of people who rebuilt instead of running, the land's patience with all who've walked it. Lubango mirrors that spirit perfectly, rooted in pain, but always reaching for light. It's a city that reminds you that faith doesn't have to live in churches or temples. Sometimes, it's simply the act of waking up each morning and choosing to keep going. As night falls, the lights of Lubango flicker to life below, scattered like stars across the valley floor. The statue glows softly against the dark sky, its presence serene and unshaken. The wind hums through the mountains, carrying the faint sound of music from the city below. You stand there, looking out over the endless sweep of land and cloud, and feel a strange peace settle in your chest. Here, high above the fog, it's easy to believe. Not in miracles or promises, but in the quiet, enduring power of hope itself. Namib Desert, where sand meets sea. There's a place in Angola where the world feels split in two, where the ocean and the desert meet without warning, without compromise. It's called Namibi, a land where sand slides into the sea and silence stretches as far as the eye can see. The light here is sharp, almost too bright, and the air tastes of salt and dust. It's the kind of landscape that humbles you instantly, vast, empty, yet alive in ways you can't quite explain. The Namibi Desert is ancient, one of the oldest on Earth. Long before humans left footprints here, the wind was already sculpting dunes taller than buildings, and the sea was already carving its poetry into cliffs. To stand here is to feel time differently. It doesn't move forward. It circles, folds, and lingers. The dunes glow orange at sunrise and turn crimson at dusk, shifting constantly, yet remaining eternal. Every grain of sand seems to hold a story, every gust of wind a whisper from another age. But for all its harshness, this desert isn't lifeless. It hides secrets, small and stubborn, tucked between dunes and rocks. The most famous of them all is the Welwitskia, a plant so strange it looks like something from another planet. Its two leaves grow continuously for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, curling and twisting in the desert wind. It survives on fog that drifts inland from the sea, drinking the air itself when rain refuses to fall. Botanists call it a living fossil. Locals call it a miracle. Either way, it's proof that life finds a way, even in the most unforgiving places. Namibe is full of such contradictions. You can drive for hours through landscapes that seem completely barren, only to find a herd of springbok moving gracefully across the horizon. Ostriches sprint over dunes, their shadows chasing them in the fading light. In the distance, a lone acacia tree stands, defying reason, its roots finding invisible water beneath the sand. There's beauty here, but it's not the kind that shouts. It's quiet, patient, and powerful, the kind that demands you slow down and really look. The coastline adds another layer of wonder. Waves crash against cliffs of rust-red rock, throwing up mist that drifts inland like ghostly breath. The sea here is wild and cold, shaped by the Benguela current that sweeps up from the Antarctic. It's rich with life. Seals bask on rocks, seabirds wheel overhead, and dolphins cut through the waves like silver blades. The contrast is breathtaking. Ocean and desert, blue and gold, movement and stillness. Two extremes touching, not fighting, just existing side by side, as if they've always known how. Drive inland from the coast, and the world changes again. The sand gives way to gravel plains, then to rugged hills etched with ancient petroglyphs, drawings left by people who once wandered these lands thousands of years ago. Figures of animals and hunters carved into stone, reminders that even here, humanity once thrived. The desert may look empty now, but it's full of memories. At dusk, the transformation is almost sacred. The heat fades, the wind softens, and the dunes turn the color of fire. Shadows stretch for miles. The sun sinks into the sea, and for a brief moment, the world glows red and gold before falling into darkness. Then comes the silence, thick, absolute, endless. It's not a silence of absence, but of presence. You hear your own heartbeat, your breath, the faint hiss of sand moving across stone. Under the night sky, Namibi becomes another universe. The stars look close enough to touch, scattered in impossible numbers. The Milky Way stretches across the heavens like spilled light. There's no noise, no city glow, just infinity pressing gently against the edge of the world. It's at that moment you understand why people call this place otherworldly. It's not because it feels alien, it's because it feels eternal. Namibe isn't about comfort or luxury, it's about scale, solitude, and surrender. It reminds you that nature doesn't need to be kind to be beautiful. Here, beauty is in survival, in silence, in the meeting of two ancient forces that never tried to conquer each other. The sand and the sea simply exist, side by side, patient and proud, as they have for millions of years. And in their quiet coexistence, you find something human, a lesson in endurance, in balance, and in the strange peace that comes from standing at the edge of the earth and realizing it doesn't need you at all. Tundavala Gap, the edge of the world. Some places make you question where the earth ends and the sky begins. Tundavala is one of them. Perched on the rim of Angola's highlands near Lubango, it's a chasm that feels like a crack in the world. A vast, breathtaking gap that drops more than 1,000 meters into mist and silence. To stand at its edge is to feel suspended between worlds, caught between gravity and grace, between the solid ground beneath your feet and the endless blue that stretches beyond it. The drive up to Tundavala is a journey through shifting moods. The road climbs through rolling hills and pine forests, the air growing colder, thinner, purer. The light changes too, softer, almost silver, as if the sun itself hesitates to intrude. And then, without warning, the forest ends and the world opens. The earth simply falls away, leaving you staring into an abyss so vast that your mind can't fully hold it. The valley below seems to dissolve into haze, rivers glinting like veins of light, villages no bigger than dust. It's not just a view, it's a confrontation with scale. Wind rushes through the canyon with a voice of its own. It howls, sighs, whispers. Sometimes it comes as a roar that drowns every other sound, and sometimes as a soft breath that brushes against your skin. The locals call it the wind of souls, believing that the spirits of ancestors travel through these currents, watching over the land. Standing there, feeling the air move around you, it's easy to believe that's true. The wind feels alive, ancient, knowing, eternal. The cliffs themselves are alive with color. Layers of stone tell a story written over millions of years. Red sandstone, gray granite, streaks of ochre and white. Moss clings to cracks where water seeps through, feeding tiny ferns and wildflowers that somehow manage to bloom even on the edge of nothingness. Hawks circle in the updrafts, their shadows gliding across the rock faces far below. Sometimes, clouds drift into the gap, filling it until it looks like the earth has been replaced by sky. You can watch them rise, fold, and vanish, like breath escaping from the mountain. But Tundavala is more than geology. It's emotion carved into stone. It carries a kind of spiritual weight, the kind that makes even the loudest traveler fall silent. There's a deep peace here, but not the gentle kind. It's awe, raw and humbling, the kind that makes you aware of how small you really are. For generations, people have come here to pray, to think, to remember. It's a place for reflection, for understanding that the earth doesn't just hold us, it shapes us. Below the cliffs, the land stretches into the horizon, dotted with green valleys and winding roads. When the sun begins to set, the view transforms into something almost unreal. The rock faces catch fire with golden light, and the shadows stretch across the plains like fingers of night reaching upward. Birds return to their nests, the wind slows, and the sky turns a shade of violet so deep it feels like you could fall into it. Every color, every sound, every shift of air feels heightened, almost sacred. At night, the temperature drops sharply. The stars appear one by one, then all at once, until the whole sky seems alive with them. The Milky Way arcs above the cliffs like a bridge of light, connecting heaven and earth. Down below, the faint glow of distant villages flickers through the haze. It's as if two worlds exist side by side, one of rock and silence, and one of life and firelight. And you're standing right at the scene where they meet. Tundavala isn't the kind of beauty you simply admire. It's the kind that stays with you, quietly altering the way you see everything else. It teaches humility without words, awe without effort. Here, on the edge of the world, you understand that wonder doesn't always come from movement or noise. Sometimes it comes from standing still, from looking down into the deep breath of the earth, and realizing that even in stillness, everything is alive. Huambo, the green heart. In the center of Angola, where the land breathes slowly and steadily, lies Huambo, a city wrapped in green, a place where the earth feels soft and generous. After the raw edges of the coast and the dizzying heights of Tundavala, Huambo feels like a deep exhale, a return to balance. The air here is gentle, cool, touched with the scent of eucalyptus and rain. They call it the green heart of Angola, and the name fits perfectly. Everything about this place feels alive, grounded, fertile, quietly strong. Huambo was once the pride of the highlands, a city born from ambition and vision. The Portuguese called it Nova Lisboa, New Lisbon, a dream of modernity in Africa's interior. Streets were drawn wide, gardens planted, and railways built to connect the heartland to the coast. Then came war, and the dream broke apart. For years, Huambo was a city under siege, its beauty scarred, its people scattered. But now, decades later, it's breathing again, and that breath is one of resilience. The first thing you notice is color. Green stretches in every direction, rolling hills, terraced farms, trees heavy with fruit. The soil here is rich, red, and fertile, and the people know how to make it sing. Fields of maize and cassava ripple in the wind. Rivers sparkle between rows of crops. In the early morning, farmers walk with tools over their shoulders, their faces turned toward the sunrise. There's a rhythm to their steps, a peace in their routine. Life here doesn't rush, it grows. The city itself hums with quiet industry. Markets spill into the streets, full of bright vegetables, woven baskets, and the laughter of bargaining. Bicycles weave between carts of firewood and motorbikes carrying everything from goats to sacks of grain. Women balance baskets on their heads with impossible grace, their dresses flashing color against the green backdrop. Every corner smells of something cooking: grilled corn, fresh bread, and the smoky aroma of wood fires. It's not chaos, it's harmony in motion. What makes Huambo special isn't just its landscape, but its spirit. The people have learned to build again, patiently and proudly. Schools stand where ruins once lay. Children in uniforms walk home under mango trees, singing. Churches echo with songs that blend faith and gratitude. Even the older generation, who lived through hardship, speak of the future with light in their eyes. They know what it means to lose everything and to plant hope in its place. Outside the city, the countryside rolls endlessly. Small villages rest beside streams. Herds graze lazily under vast skies. The rhythm of daily life feels timeless. Sunrise to sunset, planting to harvest, rain to renewal. It's a kind of peace that doesn't deny struggle, but rises from it. The land itself seems to carry memory, the memory of endurance, of cycles that break and heal, of beauty that doesn't need perfection to exist. At dusk, the hills around Huambo turn gold. Smoke rises from evening fires, mingling with mist. The sound of drums carries from somewhere far away, soft, steady, like a heartbeat. The day ends slowly here, in gratitude and quiet strength. Huambo doesn't demand attention. It invites reflection. It reminds you that recovery isn't a miracle, its work. Patient, tender, and rooted in the belief that life, if given time, will always find a way to bloom again. Calendula Falls, thunder of the ancients. Far to the north, where Angola's rivers gather their strength before rushing toward the sea, the land opens into a spectacle so vast it takes your breath away. This is Calendula Falls, an immense curtain of water that plunges into a gorge with the sound of 1,000 drums. They call it the thunder of the ancients, and when you stand before it, you understand why. It's not just sight or sound. It's a force that vibrates through your bones, through the air, through everything. The approach is quiet. You drive through rolling hills and sleepy villages, the road winding through fields of cassava and tall grass. Then, without warning, the sound begins. A deep, distant rumble, steady and growing. It feels like a heartbeat under the ground. And then, you see it. A wall of white water, more than 100 meters tall and 400 meters wide, spilling endlessly into a mist-shrouded abyss. The air trembles. The sunlight catches the spray and breaks it into rainbows that seem to hover in place. It's overwhelming, and yet, somehow, peaceful. Calendula isn't just a natural wonder, it's a story. Long before explorers named it, local tribes told tales of spirits living within its waters. They believed the falls were alive, their roar a language spoken to the sky. Even now, elders come here to offer prayers and gifts, whispering wishes into the mist. The river, the Lucala, isn't just water. It's memory, carrying centuries of stories through the rocks it shaped. The sheer scale of Calendula humbles you. Stand close enough, and the mist soaks your skin, cool and electric. The ground beneath your feet vibrates. The air is filled with sound, so constant it becomes silent again. Birds dart in and out of the spray, their wings catching the light. Rainbows bloom and fade, and somewhere deep below, hidden in the gorge, the water gathers itself again, calm, steady, preparing for the next fall. It's a reminder that even power has rhythm, even force has grace. Around the falls, the landscape glows with life. Lush forest spreads in every direction, thick with ferns and vines. Monkeys call from the treetops, and the air carries the scent of wet earth and green leaves. Small villages sit quietly beyond the tree line, their lives woven into the rhythm of the river. For them, the falls aren't a tourist attraction. They're a guardian, a constant presence that shapes weather, crops, and spirit alike. Calendula's beauty changes with the seasons. In the dry months, it narrows, revealing dark rock faces carved by centuries of erosion. In the rainy season, it becomes unrecognizable, wider, louder, almost alive with fury. Clouds of mist rise hundreds of feet into the air, and the river below turns to silver foam. You can feel the power from miles away, the air pulsing with the heartbeat of water in motion. At sunset, the falls transform. The light shifts from gold to deep orange, and the mist catches the color until the whole valley glows. The sound softens, almost like the river sighs before night. The temperature drops, the forest cools, and a sense of calm settles over the chaos. For a moment, everything, the river, the cliffs, the sky, feels connected, as if the earth itself is breathing. Standing at Calendula, you realize you're witnessing one of nature's oldest performances, untamed, unchanged, unending. The water has been falling here for millions of years, shaping the same rocks, feeding the same soil, telling the same story. You can't help but feel small, but it's a good kind of small, the kind that makes you grateful to be part of something so much bigger. Calendula Falls doesn't just impress, it transforms. It reminds you that power doesn't always destroy, that beauty can be loud, that time can be both, relentless and kind. The ancients called it thunder, but it's more than sound. It's a hymn to endurance, to the endless motion of the world. to the simple, sacred truth that nothing in nature ever truly stops. What makes Angolans remarkable isn't just their resilience, it's their joy. Their ability to find beauty in struggle, to laugh easily, to dance even when life demands endurance. You can't spend a day here without feeling that energy. It's contagious. It lives in the eyes of market women, in the voices of street musicians, in the way strangers greet each other as if they've met before. There's pride here, not loud, not boastful, but steady. The kind that comes from knowing what it took to get this far. Angola's future doesn't just live in its oil, its roads, or its growing cities. It lives in its people, in their creativity, their patience, and their love for the land and for one another. They are proof that a country's soul isn't built by power or wealth. It's built by hearts that refuse to break. The faces of Angola's future are already here, in classrooms, on farms, in studios and workshops, carving new paths, singing new songs, but carrying the same strength that has always defined this place. They are the living heartbeat of a nation still writing its story. One smile, one song, one small act of hope at a time. Some places change how you see the world, and Angola is one of them. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't try to prove its worth. It simply exists. Vast, quiet, resilient. A land that remembers everything and forgives almost as much. From the thunder of Kalandula Falls to the silence of the Namib Desert, from the mist of Tundavala to the pulse of Luanda, Angola tells a single, powerful story: that beauty can survive anything. This country is a conversation between opposites, ocean and desert, past and future, destruction and rebirth. Its landscapes hold contradictions that somehow make sense when you stand among them. You see the same in its people: strength born from softness, hope blooming where logic says it shouldn't. Nothing here feels temporary. Even the wind seems to carry history, the kind that hums rather than shouts. In a world obsessed with speed and noise, Angola moves differently. It teaches without preaching. It reminds you that healing doesn't happen overnight, that silence isn't emptiness, and that strength often speaks in whispers. It shows that the planet's oldest truths are still the simplest ones: to grow, to endure, to begin again. Every grain of sand, every drop of rain, every face you meet carries that same message. Survival isn't just about living, it's about living with grace. Angola's landscapes, its cities, its people, they all share the same quiet defiance. They have seen collapse and still chosen to rise. They have known hunger and still chosen generosity. They have been forgotten by the world and still chosen to shine. There's something deeply human in that, a reminder of what we're all capable of when we stop fighting the world and start listening to it instead. As the sun sets over the highlands, the last light turning gold across the plains, you can feel the land breathe. The rivers shimmer, the air cools. Somewhere in the distance, a drum begins to play, its rhythm slow and steady, echoing the heartbeat of this place. Angola doesn't say goodbye. It simply fades into memory, like a song that never really ends. And long after you've left, you'll still hear it, the quiet lesson it offers to anyone willing to listen. That beauty doesn't need perfection, that peace doesn't need silence, and that even the most wounded lands can still teach the world how to live.